love is neutral. If you discover love, you discover that it is not something sentimental nor emotional, but the very core of it is consciousness, and consciousness is neutral. Love is the same as awareness is. But in our way, how we interpret it, we make a difference. That's because we don't know what awareness is and we don't know what love is. We make our own personal version out of it. It's amazing that love is neutral. You simply discover it. It is like this. But it is not what has been told to us. And that's why it might be a bit of confusing. Even when you hear it is neutral, you also don't see how much alive it is. It's not a neutrality that is deaf or indifferent. Consciousness is not at all indifferent. It is the source of life. All the colors come from it. Everything arises out of it. So it's not sentimental. That is often what we think. It's not romantic. That's another thing. Yeah. It is that which merges with everything, which is one with everything. It is unity. It is the totality. Everything takes place in it. But we have wrong definitions about it, because we don't know what love is. We don't know what awareness is. And we don't know so many other things, but still we use the words and we have our translations of these words. Yeah. So when you look from neutrality and from love, then you see the beauty and the originality, the uniqueness in everyone. So you don't look to the differences and you start to compare. You don't listen to them with your mind, but you receive them in your being. And then you can see equally the beauty of a Christ or a Buddha or a Lao Tzu. But actually, you see that in everyone. Usually people look to something and to somebody with a certain projection. But when you are the source of love, which you are, then you always bring that with you in the perception. So then you see the beauty in everything. So you listen and look at Lao Tzu, and you see how wonderful that is, how original and precise he is. But then you also listen to a Yari or a Mirabai or someone that speaks more with the voice of devotion and someone else with non-duality. But you see, in both, the same light is burning and being expressed. But when you cannot see so deep, then you always have your preferences because they match more with what you think is right, is beautiful, how it should be. So whenever you put your attention on someone, you feel her being, his being, and then there is love, there is merging, and then you look at someone else and the same happens. And that can happen with everyone, and we are completely unfamiliar with this phenomena. We are more about likes and dislikes, agreement or disagreement. But when you merge with the self, it's always beautiful with everyone. And it is very possible that you don't like someone. That's something else. That is just about behavior or some unimportant things. But when you look into somebody, you always come to the core of somebody. And every core, every heart, every being is incredibly beautiful. We call it blindness when you don't see it. That's why people are asleep or blind. You don't see it. But when you see it in yourself, as yourself, because you are this yourself, then you see it everywhere. It doesn't need to be proved. It is not, again, it's not a technique at all. It's effortless. It's obvious. And it's amazing to see that people deny this in themselves. It's more like a miracle that people deny the divinity in themselves, the beauty in themselves, and that they see themselves for something completely different than they are, and they believe it. And that is hypnosis. That is conditioning. And when we stop this, and we see from clarity, from love, from awareness, then you see the uniqueness in the masters, you see the uniqueness in all the animals, you see the uniqueness in the plants, in all the human beings. And it's just a very small shift in consciousness to see from what appears to be to what always is. Yeah, without devotion, our life misses color, misses a certain juice. The Western mind is often very rational, of course. And devotional love is coming directly from your heart, from your being, because you see something that is beyond your comprehension. You can't understand. Devotion is in a way very natural. We know it often in the relation between mother and child. You can see easily how devoted a mother can be with a child. But we can live a life of devotion, which doesn't mean submission, which doesn't mean that you make yourself small and the other very big. Has nothing to do with it. Yeah. So devotion comes from the heart and not from the mind, obviously. And the Western culture is mind-orientated, and I like to say that the whole world actually has become the West. More and more. It has become male, and it lost its femininity, receptiveness. Yeah? So when you sing and you lose yourself in the song, when you dance and you lose yourself in the dance, that's all devotion. When you simply touch something and your whole being is present in that touch, that is devotion. When you listen to music and there is nothing else, you merge with the music, that is devotion. So you lose yourself and you meet a higher reality. And your system, our sensitive human system, loves it so much to be in the state of devotion. Even to see someone in devotion, in a devotional act, is so beautiful. Just the gestures have grace. The voice is different. Everything is different when someone acts out of grace and out of devotion. So I know that the heart is longing for this, incredibly. We miss it so much. We have become so functional. And devotion, for instance, has never a goal. It's not a strategy or so. It is an end to itself, and the reward, so to speak, is in the act of devotion. You don't want anything else. Devotion is everything. You merge with the beloved. And by merging, you realize you are the beloved too. The other and you are not separated. But you see first in the mirror the beauty. And you are devoted. You have something like, amazing, this is possible. Someone can be so beautiful, so ecstatic, so empty, so full of grace. So something is touched in you. And then naturally you want to be with this one. You want to be close to him or her. Yeah? That is devotion. It's not something like you make a choice. No, it is magnetic. And you lose yourself in devotion, and then you find yourself in devotion. The real one. Being receptive is you are open to life. Receptivity gives space. And so when you are not receptive and you come at a place where there is a transmission of love and truth, you don't receive it. You are full of yourself and you have no space to receive it. You are in your mind, you have all kinds of opinions, and your nervous system is locked up, is closed, you have buffers, you are protected. You miss life. Being receptive is you are open to life, without defenses, completely naked, and that is needed. When you are with a master, you can only receive him. He is abundant. He is overloaded with love, and he loves to share it. He wants to unburden himself from the love that he is, from the truth that lives in him. And he also can see that you are thirsty. Your heart is thirsty. Your heart has been dried out since long. Yeah? So he is showering. A master has no teaching, is showering love and presence. So when one is not in a receptive quality, but one wants to understand him and wants to hear some teachings, then you miss his presence, his love. So yes, indeed, always one is first receptive, and then from the receptivity one is filled up with energy, with an unspoken message, with a transmission that you cannot really detect what it is. But you start to feel it. You start to feel the effect of it. And that effect is somehow erasing you, the you inside of you, the person, the mind. It has a very strong quality. And then when it's completely empty and filled up with the energy of this transcendental light, then something starts to shift from femininity, from receptivity to activity. Then the sun rises in your being and the male principle wakes up. And when the male principle wakes up from the female, it will never be dominant, aggressive. And when the male principle wakes up without the feminine, it becomes dominant. It always wants to conquer. Like science is like this. It always wants to conquer. Femininity not. It's more artful. It's never destructive. It's always receiving, opening arms. But the male principle is so beautiful when it has its roots in femininity. It is something that the humans in the world nowadays don't understand well. They are quite unfamiliar. And I feel that we have become so cold, so scientific, so calculative, that we cannot continue much longer like this. And then always the shift happens. First, the crisis, because we are not intelligent enough to see this, to let this happen. And then the crisis comes that destroys the whole old mind in us. Very painful process. But because we cannot, with our intelligence, receive this, then the old world needs to be destroyed. If we are willing and intelligent enough to see this, then we don't go through so much pain. Then the old does not need to be destroyed, but it will be transformed. Yeah, first of all, what a master is very unknown. Because if people would know it, they would always surrender to it. It is the most beautiful phenomena. But people project so many strange things on masters, you know. They think that the other side of a master is the slave, is dependency, is authority. The master is an authority that tells people how to live and how to be. It has nothing to do with a master, not at all. So, why is there so much resistance? First of all, because of ignorance. Then another part is that when the master is true, it shows and proves that you are not. You are a lie. That's very painful to admit it. So it is also something like hard to accept, because if you accept it and see it, then you have to do something about your life. Then you see that your life has been rooted in a lie. First of all, that's very painful to admit. Everything your life was based upon changes. And so your identity, where you believe in, and it can be anything, your religion, all your convictions. So they need to be erased. There are no good ones and bad ones, everything. And that is so scary, because that gives you the feeling of being anchored, or to be someone, to be somebody. And then one is empty. One is not knowing. One is lost. That's so difficult to accept. The notion, to grasp something, the habit to have something in your hands and to hold on to, is so strong in us. And the master just takes it all away. He erases it. He is the death of your ego, the death of your conditioned mind. And you want to preserve it, to improve it. When it doesn't function, you want to change it. You don't want to erase it. Because then you meet with emptiness, with nobodiness. That's too much. The I principle is so afraid for this. So it wants to preserve itself. The masters are dangerous, very dangerous for your personality, for your identity, for your ego. Yeah? So when they are gone, you like to study their words, you make up their biographies, you change them according to your own needs and what you can accept. And then you can praise them. Then you can make a new identity or even a new religion out of it. But to be with a living master, first of all, most people will always say, this is not a real master. Always the doubt is there. Because he is not in a way that you think that master should be. How could you know? You have images of a saint. So he should be according to your image. And if he is not, he should please you. He should satisfy you. But he will not. A real master doesn't do it. He operates you. That's a challenge. And he loves you. That's weird. You don't have to deserve it. You don't have to do something about it. He loves unconditionally. You not. You love the master only when he does what you want. So there's always this tension towards masters. After they die, then it's easy. Then you can make your hero out of them. But not while they are alive. First of all, you don't recognize them. And even if you do, you start to see how dangerous they are for your whole ego structure. So not many people have the eyes for it, and not many people have the courage for it. Because the effect of a master is so intense that they affect your life. Your life will never be the same anymore. You step out of your conformism, of your weaknesses, of how other people want you to be. It's an incredible challenge. So only when one is ready to see the truth of your heart, when one is ready to surrender, then one is mature enough to see the master and to allow his grace to descend upon you. You allow the operation voluntarily to happen. The masters, they stand on the side of life. They make you more alive than just breathing and functioning. They make you alive in all your hidden potencies. And you don't know that lives in you. No one else told you. Yeah, you have been so mediocre in the way you live and survive and keep your things together and protect them with your family, with your churches, with your small world. But there's someone else too. Not only life is there, death is there. He erases everything that the master is also erasing. You cannot stand up against death. It will come. That is your only guarantee. The master does something what death is doing as well. But with the master you go voluntarily. Deliberately you die before you die. And then you wake up. And if you don't die before you die, you don't live. But you have to see this. This is not a matter of belief. And so the master intensifies your being, what you truly are. You simply start to taste it when you are in his or her presence. Yeah? And he starts to play with you. He starts to seduce you. He starts to operate you. He starts to irritate you. No matter what he does, it's all for the sake of awakening. If he's pleasing you, you certainly will not wake up. If he talks and acts according to your wishes, you will remain asleep. So you need to be shaken. A master shakes the tree. And you are afraid. You want to control it. You want to protect it. So yes, it is so much needed. Only people that have been life after life with enlightened masters, they come to a point where maybe in one life, after being fulfilled for so many lives, that there is no master needed. It is destined that now only a small thing will trigger you. But most people, more than 99%, certainly they need a master. And I want to add to it, you need a master most just when you are very close to your enlightenment. Then it is the most needed. Before, people just think it is about instructions and teachings, but the master doesn't give them. You start to see that the master is empty. You start to see that the master is no more. And of course, you start to see that you are no more, that you are empty. But we are so used to be somebody. That whole personal identity seems to be everything that you are. You will kill for it. That's what we do in our wars. Because we want to defend our identity. The identity is false. There is a reality in us. And the master provokes that reality. He is a midwife. He helps you to be born again, to be twice born, to be really born. Your physical birth is not the birth. Only when the seed bursts open, the flower comes out. So he destroys your old mind, your seed, in order to bloom. Yeah, and we need to trust the master, otherwise we are against him. We think that what he is doing, he doesn't know what he is doing. You want to preserve yourself. And he destroys yourself so you can be alive. He crucifies you so you can be resurrected. We love to hear about it in the Bible or in other wonderful books, but when we are at the cross, we don't want to get out of it. We don't allow this. So you need to have a deep insight, a deep taste. And then you invite the master. You say, okay, come, kill me, so that I can wake up to my reality. You need to have courage and insight. And so most people have no sense of what a master is. Like always, they project things on it which do not exist. Everyone who would know what a master is would look for it, would call for it, would invite the master. And when you really mean it, he will arrive in your life. Always. This is a law. But when you are arrogant and you think, I do it myself. What are you doing yourself? Who are you to do it yourself? What actually you want to do yourself? To dismantle you? To pull you out of the seat? It's impossible. You will resist it. So the master pulls you into your Buddha seat, gives you the strength and courage to break out of your limited consciousness. So it's so amazing that they exist, and they always have been here. They always are here. Without this possibility of awakening, I would say, what is this life? Just to breathe and reproduce and work and experience. Is there something more to it? People always want to know this. What is the meaning of life? When you meet a master, you start to discover this. He doesn't give you an answer, but you start to realize what the meaning of life is.